Hey guys, what is up? My name is Megan. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. Hope you guys are doing well. So, welcome back to another day of BOOKMAS. I hope you guys have been enjoying the series. Today we are here to talk about my favorite book protagonist. This could be either because I really relate to them or I just really enjoy reading about their characters. That's pretty much all the introduction this video needs, so without further ado, let's hop on in. The first character I want to talk about is a character I haven't really discussed recently on my channel, and that is Eliza from Eliza and Her Monsters by Francesca Zappia. This book took BookTube by storm years ago, and I completely fell in love with it myself when I read it, mostly because of the character of Eliza. Eliza is a very shy and awkward protagonist, but she also has this life online where she creates comics, and she's very well known and is able to express herself so much better when she is virtually meeting people rather than in real life. No one knows who she is in real life. She has no popular identity. People have not attached her to her comic, and I think I really love Eliza because I can relate to that aspect of her life. I am a very socially awkward person. I don't like meeting new people. I don't like going out and just being with a bunch of people I don't know. I am very comfortable with my family and my little group of friends that I have, and I don't need much more to feel like I have a social life. And just like Eliza, I feel like I am better at socializing with people on my online platform than I would ever be if I met all of you guys in person, and I think that that made the story so much more believable for me, and it kind of made me root for Eliza and want her to be happy, because when you see parts of yourselves in other characters, I think that it definitely makes the reading experience so much more valuable, and I just think that Eliza is kind of me, especially as a teen, and me when I started this BookTube channel. Every year I get a little bit better at talking to people, but it's still not my favorite thing, and therefore I feel like I see myself in Eliza, and I just love that about her, and I feel like it's very unique because a lot of the books we read have very outgoing main characters and that kind of thing, and I think that it's valuable for people like me and younger teens to be able to see themselves in books and characters. I also have to talk about Small Town Hearts by Lily Vale. Lily Vale is an author that is a debut author. This was her debut novel. She is coming out with one book in 2021, which will be an adult romance, and another book in 2022, and they are my most anticipated books of all time, I think, because I read Small Town Hearts. I have a full review of this book and an explanation why this book means so much to me, but it especially means something to me because of Babe, which is short for Barbara in this book. Babe lives in this small town. She works in a coffee shop, and she doesn't really know what she's doing with her life. Her friends are all going off to college, and it's just, you know, that part in your late teens where it's kind of time to move on and do things differently, but sometimes you don't even know where you're going or what you want to do because you're still so young. And I read this book in a time in my life where I was kind of feeling exactly like Barbara was feeling, or Babe, let's call her Babe. But I think that's why this protagonist means so much to me, because I think that she is the reflection of the hardest years in our lives, probably, or some of the hardest years, because it's a sense of identity that you can sometimes lose, and finding yourself can take years. I last year could not go to school because of a bunch of different reasons, and it kind of put this stop to my life because I had so many things planned, and then it was just like, what am I supposed to do? Like, what defines me now? And I have been learning to redefine myself without academics. I mean, I'm back in school full-time now, and I really enjoy it, but I think it's important for me to piece my identity together outside of school, kind of like Barbara had to. I keep calling her Barbara. It's Babe. And I think that I really love this protagonist because she taught me a lesson, and this book taught me a lesson, and it was just so important for me to be able to read this book at the time. And if any of you guys are going through similar situations, I think that this book could bring a lot to you, and just read it even if you're not, because it's amazing. and I'm just very thankful that I got to learn something from a book, even though it's YA and I'm 23 years old, going on 24. I think that you can learn so many things with books, and just this is something that's going to stick with me. I cried during this book because it kind of helped me go through stuff, and I have to forever be thankful to this main character, so had to be on this list. To break up the YA a little, I thought I would talk about a middle grade main character, and that has to be Morgan from the Nevermoor series. Morgan is the main character in this ongoing middle grade series that everybody has been loving, which is Nevermoor, and I specifically like Morgan because of her values and her wants and needs in life. I think that first, she is a great representation for the middle grade age range. Like, middle grade is mostly from like 9 to 12 years old, and I think that growing up with a main character like Morgan could definitely have benefited me, and I think it will help a lot of children. But what I really like about Morgan is what she values most. Morgan hasn't really had a family growing up, and all she really wants is to have those connections either with friends or family, and I find that she just wants to belong somewhere, and I think that we don't see that a lot in main characters, and she's very honest with herself about her needs, and I think that makes her such an incredible protagonist. She will go out there and save the people she loves, and sometimes do stupid stuff, but that makes her so much more relatable, and I think that the life lessons she learns and how she takes in the world and what she wants for herself is very, I relate, and I think that it's great to have that in main characters. I just think that her values and her education and how she's growing up as a main character is really fun to watch, and so definitely one of my favorite protagonists. Let's spice this up with an adult romance, and for that I'm going to talk about Chloe from Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. I think that Chloe is one of my favorite protagonists because of how she represents chronic illness and how it doesn't define her life, but I think that Talia Hibbert made it a point to show that you can really struggle when you're sick, and sometimes it's not even something physical that people can see, and I think it's really important. I have people in my life who struggle with chronic illness. When I read this book, I was struggling with back pain that was caused by a work incident, so it's not exactly the same, but it put me out of my regular activities for almost a year, and I thought it was very refreshing to see characters who had limitations. I feel like a lot of main characters aren't really realistic when it comes to these things, like characters in fantasy books who just go all over the place and kill everybody and just do the thing all the time, and they're never hurt and they never struggle, and that's not real life. And I think that characters like Chloe kind of remind readers that their struggles are real, and just to be conscious that other people can be struggling without you seeing it necessarily, and that you need to think about these things in life and be grateful for your health. And I think she's a great representation for chronic illness, and I'm just thankful that there are characters like Chloe to teach us and remind us, and I just think that the book in and of itself and the main character are absolutely remarkable, and I just really love like her sense of humor and her way of going upon life. I think I can relate to some of the things, like making lists all the time. I just really love Chloe. I feel like it's a good time to talk about my other adult romance on this list because it's also by Talia Hibbert, and that is A Girl Like Her by Talia Hibbert, and the main character in here is named Ruth, and Ruth is actually on the spectrum, and again, I feel like Talia Hibbert has brought so much awareness to the differences in people and how not everyone is treated fairly. The main character in this story obviously does not deal with things the same way maybe other people would, and I think that being in her head and following her made you conscious about so many things, and you see the way other people interact with her, and it made me feel sick because I feel like it is a representation about how some people are actually treated in real life, and it's not because your identity is different, and that could go for so many things that you get to be treated like absolute crap. And I think it was an important conversation in this book, and I just really liked our main character as well. She's a little bit more closed off. She doesn't deal with people's bullshit. She has her own hobbies and her own things, and she just goes about life. And even though some of these things were brought about by negative situations, I think that she did something for herself that was absolutely remarkable, and I just wish we had more characters like Ruth. Now, going back for some more YA, we have Bookish and the Beast, and the main character in here is named Rosie. Well, one of the main characters. This is a dual perspective. This is the third book in the Once Upon a Con series, and I think the final book, which breaks my freaking heart because I love this series so much. This is by Ashley Poston, and the reason I love Rosie is for her love of books. Bookish and the Beast is obviously a twist on Beauty and the Beast, and our main character Rosie values books incredibly much. She has a big connection to them because her mother used to love reading as well, and her mother has passed away. And I just think that it was so easy to relate to this character and root for her because of her attachment to books and how she perceives them and the importance they have in her life, and I just found that beautiful. I feel like we need more characters who love books, and oh my god, did I just hit myself in the face? Yes, I did. I'm just so excited to talk about this, and I just think that she had a lot of important conversations about fandom and what it can mean to someone, and it's not always just silly, and fandom can be silly and embraced, but I think a lot of people connect to characters or connect to fandoms because it brings them something in their life, and I feel like our main character had a lot of important discourse on these things, and I just really loved reading about her perspective and her romance. To break up the books I always talk about, let's talk about The Castle of Tangled Magic by Sophie Anderson. This is a middle grade novel I read for Believe-a-thon, and I think I hadn't loved a middle grade character like that. Aside from Morgan, I think that these are my two favorite middle grade characters I've read about. Our main character is named Olia, and she lives in this castle with her grandmother as well as her parents. She used to be from like a royal descendants, but her parents aren't royal anymore. They're simple carpenters. They just continue the family lineage and live in this castle. This castle, however, has trapped in magic, and it is it's Olia's job basically to save the castle from this magic, and she goes into this alternate world. The reason I like Olia is her purpose in this book. She has a lot of purpose, and I think it's interesting to give a middle grade character so many things to deal with, but it's her reflection on doing what's right, even if sometimes it's not the best outcome for you. And I think that it's a lesson everybody needs to learn, that sometimes the right choice is not the best choice for your own person, but Olia kind of understood that, and I really agreed with the decision she made and her priorities. Her priorities were always her family and saving as many people as she could, and I thought that it was super interesting that she could be this mature at a young age, and I just really loved being in her head and the thought process, and it's just an incredible journey that she went on of self-discovery as well as an adventure, like a literal adventure, and I just think she's a fabulous character. Now, to go quickly, because if you've been on my channel before, you know these characters, I talk about them a lot. We have Kate from Listen to Your Heart. I feel like I talked about this in another video recently, or all my videos really. Kate is the main character I relate to most in all the literature I've ever read, even though I'm 23 and she's like in high school. It is me when I was like 16 or 17. Basically, she is me. I am Kate. We are one, and that's why I love her so much. She's kind of shy and awkward, doesn't have a big friend group, doesn't really want one. She is more attracted to nature and the outdoors and the water specifically. I love anything to do on the water, so I love her, and I think that the self-discovery and journey she goes on through this book was just fabulous. I'm not going to talk too much more about this, but I feel like I could not do a video about my favorite protagonist and not talk about Kate. Similarly, I feel like I talk about this book all the time in my underhyped videos, and that is The Thing with Feathers by McCall Hoyle. This is an author I absolutely adore. She has 2 books out now, I think. The main character in here is called Emily, and Emily is another character who has a lot on her plate. She has epilepsy, and so it's kind of made her life very different from the average teenager's life. She has a dog with her, which is so fun to read about, but she also goes through a lot of different struggles because at first she's homeschooled, and then her doctor and her mother think it's time for her to move on to actual high school, and so she needs to adapt, and she's not comfortable with going to high school. She's scared of having a seizure, like peeing on herself, and there's just so many obstacles she needs to go through. She also lost her father. There's a lot, but I think the resilience and also the representation for people with epilepsy that is maybe a little bit more severe and less controlled was really important in this book. Again, I talk about it all the time, so I won't chat about it too much, but I love her to pieces. And the final book in this very chatty video is Audrey Rose from the Stalking Jack the Ripper series. Audrey Rose is the main character in here. This is a quartet. There are 4 books in the series. Capturing the Devil is the last one. I just think I love Audrey Rose because she's very progressive. She has very feminist ideas, but also she's vulnerable. She likes so many different things, and I can relate to a lot of the things she likes. She solves crimes, she likes learning about the human body, and I just think that she's an incredible character. She makes the series so much better, as does Thomas Cresswell, but he's not the protagonist, so I can't include him on this list. And I just think I loved reading about their story and just everything about this. This is my favorite series, if you weren't aware, and I talk about it all the time. So again, this was just like to mention Audrey Rose. We're not going to go on a 15-minute ramble, but I love her. So those were all my favorite protagonists. Let me know in the comments if you have any favorite protagonists, and maybe if we have some of the same. And I'll see you again tomorrow with another Bookmas video. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe down below. Happy reading, guys. Bye!